As the hostage deal is finalised, there are some questions around the deal's fairness, the prisoners who are involved, and even who deserves credit. Joining me now in the studio is ILTV Executive Editor Maayan Hoffman to help analyse the deal and its broader impact. Maayan, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, despite some last-minute complications, it seems as though the hostage deal will go through. Is this truly a good deal?
Look, Ariela, there are a lot of complications with the deal, and I mean, there are several folds. I mean, the first is important is that we are getting 98 hostages, hopefully, or at least some of the 98 hostages back home. That's one. So that is a good thing. However, we have to remember that in exchange, just like in past deals, we are going to be giving a number of prisoners to Hamas. We're going to let them free from our prisons. These are prisoners with blood on their hands, life sentences, who have murdered Israelis. In addition, we are not done in Gaza. You've seen soldiers dying every day. Rockets are still coming out of the sky and targeting southern Israel. How can these people come home? And keep in mind that we are also planning, not in phase one, but over time, if this continues, to give back the Rafah crossing, to give back the Philadelphia corridor, or at least to pull back our soldiers from there. Now, we saw what happened in the past when we were not monitoring those areas with our own IDF forces, when Israel was not taking care of itself. We got October 7th. Those are the crossings where the weapons and the ammunitions and all of the materials to build the underground tunnel system are coming through. So we really have to understand that we need the hostages home, but this is not necessarily safe in the long term for the state of Israel.
So tell me more about some of the prisoners who will be released.
Okay, so that's a really important question, okay? You know, here's the deal. It's one civilian for every 30 or so prisoners. And when it comes to soldiers, you're talking at around 50 plus some extra. And again, I just want to give you, some context. Now, these are not Nukhba terrorists, we've said. These meaning people who have also took part in October 7th. But these are prisoners who have done crimes against Israelis that are extremely severe. Many of them have murdered, innocent civilians in their homes, on roads. And we're talking about in total around 2,000. The most important thing to keep in mind when we talk about a prisoner exchange is what happened in 2011. We exchanged for Gilad Shalit over 1,000 prisoners. Now, who was one of them? Yahya Sinwar. And that is the man who was the mastermind, we've since eliminated him, behind October 7th. So that is the risk that we run when we do this prisoner exchange.
I mean, so why would Israel sign this deal?
I mean, I think that's a very obvious answer, if I can tell you the truth. I mean, what that is that we need to get our hostages home. You know, here's the thing. We collective as a society need to see at least whoever is alive cross, everybody, but cross the thresholds and come back to Israel for us to collectively heal. We need it for unity. We need it for trust that if something, God forbid, happens to our people, that they will be saved. Also, keep in mind the Jewish value, every life is worth a world, we say in Judaism. And it is the biggest mitzvah to do, we call returning the hostages. So we must do this for our people, despite all the risks that I just named.
Absolutely. Now, both Biden and Trump have claimed credit for this. So who truly deserves the applause?
Okay, well, not surprising that everybody wants to take credit for this deal. And, but the reality is, and we know it came out actually even today on CNN, is that from the first few days that Trump was elected, he met with Biden, and Biden actually asked him right away to please have his team take part in the negotiations to help to move it forward. We know that Steve Witkoff was there and present for some of this, alongside, of course, McGurk, who's Biden's negotiator. What the roles were a little bit different. McGurk was meant to do more of the formalization and the how to structure the deal, while the Trump team was actually meant to put pressure. Now, everybody says, the minute Trump got into office, they said, wow, there's going to be, people were afraid of Trump, and he made his comments starting back in early December about Hamas will have hell to pay if 100 hostages do not come home. Now, of course, 98. I will say that I don't believe Hamas is fearful of Donald Trump. The terrorists are not playing into the hands. But there are two parties that are, and they are actually Israel and Qatar. Netanyahu, not that he's been stalling the deal. There were some comments made by the Biden administration, but certainly by and large, the deals have not gone through because of Hamas. But on the other hand, Netanyahu knows there's a deadline now, January 20th, and the Israeli team is much more committed because he will need Trump for the next 4 years to accomplish his goals. At the same time, Qatar, the premier of Qatar is very close with Trump, feels that he needs to try to get this forward for him as well, wants to make sure that he looks like he's working with Trump in order to know that, again, in the next administration, he will get what he wants out of Trump. Now, with that, I actually want to say that the real winner here is not Biden, and it is not Trump, it is actually Israel. The reason that Hamas gave into this deal in the end is because of what we managed to do in Lebanon. The destruction against Hezbollah, the defeat against Iran when we retaliated against their strike. What we have done in the region has shown finally, after the tragedy of October 7th, that brought up a lot of questions as to whether or not Israel was the superpower that people thought we were. Now they know we are. They know you don't mess with Israel. And therefore, Hamas, I think, eventually said, we better get this deal done or we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
All right. Several complex factors, but good to see some momentum finally. Maayan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.